Before we begin the message this morning, I just wanted to, I thought about changing the message of the events that took place this week in our society, that's been on our news. I think it would be bad leadership for me not to address those in some type of way. I too have, like Elijah, got burnt out and fed up with riots and killing of all kinds of all races. And what do we say? What do I say? I don't have any words of wisdom. But someone that's wiser than me reminded me through a message what 1968 was like. And I told him, well, it was a little fuzzy because I wasn't born until June of 1968. So I can't remember what all took place. And he listed some of the things of Dr. Martin Luther King, of an indictment of a president, and things where people really gave up hope and thought that was it. So what can we do as Jesus people, as disciples of Christ, as a faith community? What can we do? And I just jotted some things down, and they're in no particular order, but I think as disciples of Jesus Christ, we can promote the positive and turn down the negative. In social media and on Facebook and in our conversations, let's promote the positive, the good, and let's turn down the bad a little bit. We don't ignore it, but let's just turn it down. As disciples of Christ and followers of Jesus, I believe we can not live in fear, but live in hope. That we do serve a mighty God that can turn things around and bring us together when everything else wants to push us apart. One of the things we can do as followers of Jesus is maybe we can love a little bit more and hate a little bit less. Even if it's things. Even if it's things. Maybe as followers of Jesus we can not get drawn in to the rhetoric, but maybe we can move forward and look for solutions. Maybe as people of Christ, maybe we can live by faith and not by fear in our daily lives. Maybe as people of faith, we can pray for both sides. We can pray for both sides, but we can listen to only one voice, and that's of a God who loves us and cares for us. And maybe as people of Jesus, we can be open. We can be open a little bit more and remember that our perspective is unique. Someone accused me this week of promoting my own race from the pulpit. And I asked that person, I've never seen him in church, nor could he go on YouTube and watch my sermons. And I don't believe I have, but I'm open. If I have, please point that out. But my perspective is unique. The other is, let us use the word us instead of the word all when we describe people or a race of people or a group of people, because it's not all, it's us. And maybe a people of God, we can love a little bit more our children and those that are close to us, and maybe a stranger. Maybe we can hug each other a little bit better. I don't know. And maybe most importantly, we can just kind of reassure our kids and our grandkids, reassure young parents these days that there was a 1968 and America lived through it. This community lived through it. This faith community lived through it, as well as the future for tomorrow. I don't have the answer, nor do I claim to ever be. But maybe as Jesus people, we can do some of those things to ease our attention a little bit as well. But we began our sermon series last week by looking at, if you remember, the entire story, or a big chunk of the story of the prophet Elijah. And like many of us, Elijah had just come from this greatest victory of his life by defeating the prophet, the god of Baal, and sort of a God versus God showdown. But instead of a victory parade, the Queen Jezebel demanded that Elijah be killed within 24 hours. So Elijah was confused. He's defeated. He's exhausted. And he's spiritually depleted. And he did what most of us would do, or most of us would want to do, is he ran. He ran. He literally and figuratively ran for his life. And Elijah was experienced what many of us have experienced numerous times in our life, and it's called burnout. And we have all had times in our life when we have felt our only option is just to give up. It's done. We're over. It's game over. We're done. And we've all had seasons in our society and in our relationship, in our workplace, in our families, where we just wanted out. And we were tired of fighting and just wanted to run. And for some of us, this feeling, or it's actually a natural instinct to fight or flight. Maybe it only happens once in our lifetime, and maybe some of us experience it daily. Maybe some of us experience it every day, some all day. Sometimes it's all the time without ever letting up. So, how do you know? How do you know if you're just having a bad day or you're experiencing total burnout? Well, first, if you're like Elijah and someone is literally out to kill you, you might want to do what he did and run. I'm not sure. But how do we know for sure we are experiencing burnout in our society, in our workplace, in our family, in our relationships? And here are just a few of the symptoms. As you know, not all symptoms can diagnose a problem, but, maybe one or two. I don't know. Here are a few. The first thing we do if we're experiencing burnout is we depreciate our self-worth. We depreciate our self-worth. We put ourselves down mentally. And like Elijah, we say, just kill me, Lord. And most of us have murmured those words. It is kind of tongue-in-cheek around our house. If any of us have had a bad day, any of the Henegars, we walk in and we say, how was your day? And we just say, shoot me now. Take me out, shoot me now. And we know that's not probably a good day. And we're like Elijah. And most of the time it's just kind of tongue-in-cheek. And what we're really saying, is, God, I can't take this anymore. I'm at the end of my rope, God. I'm desperate for a change. We're saying, God, I just need some relief. I just need something new. And if we're more serious, we're saying, God, stop my pain. Just stop my pain and suffering, please. And like Elijah, we say we're not worthy. We're not worthy of love. We're not worthy of acceptance or accolades. You see, Elijah went from, my God started a fire with water-soaked logs and defeated your God, to just kill me now. Just shoot me now. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And he says, any of those, you know what? All the other prophets were killed. And why did I defeat Baal? And it made no difference. It made no significant difference to me or my people. We're still in the same place we were before. And if you ever have felt unappreciated, if you've ever felt unloved, if you've ever felt that your voice was not being heard, then you may be on your road to burnout. Another symptom of burnout is we begin to underrate our work. You see, we begin to think like Elijah that our labor is not worth the headaches it's causing. We begin to say, why bother? We're not going to make a difference. I mean, we feel defeated, especially when we don't see immediate results from our work. If you've ever coached Little League, you felt this. I have, coaching football. I'm like, these kids aren't paying attention. They won't even stay in line. How are they going to play a football game? They can't remember the plays. They can't remember the basic things I just went over 2 seconds ago. Why am I even out? The parents are yelling at me. Why am I even out here? I'm never, ever going to make a difference. Until the kid's 6'4", 300 pounds, 18 years old, and walks up to you in Walmart and gives you a hug and says, hey, coach. You know? We feel defeated, especially when we don't see immediate results. And if you've ever thought or said to yourself, why bother? Why bother? You may be experiencing burnout. The next symptom, and this is a hard one, is the more things don't go your way, the more you try to control them. A lot of people call this the Atlas syndrome, after the Greek god Atlas, where you're acting as if the whole world rests on your shoulders. And I have to make sure everything is going to turn out all right. I have to hold everything together. You see, I'm the one that has to work everything out. I'm the one. If it has to be, then it's got to be me. No one else in my family is going to do this. This is my responsibility. I have to make it all work out. And if that's you, you're setting yourself up for burnout. When you try to be general manager of the whole universe, this is God's burden. He never intended for us to carry the whole universe on our shoulders. There's a lot of things in your life that are out of control. And a lot of us will never, ever be able to control them. And if we do, we may be on the road to burnout. Another symptom is we begin to exaggerate our problems. We overemphasize what's wrong in our lives, and we ignore God's blessing in our lives. We always focus on the negative rather than the positive. We see the cup half empty. Well, naturally, we see the cup not full at all instead of nothing in the cup, although it is half empty and not half full. And if you're always focusing on the negative in your life, if that's all you ever look at, if you're always putting yourself down and always seeing everything negative, you're setting yourself up maybe for burnout. And that's exactly what happened to Elijah. He says, I'm the only one left, and they're trying to kill me. Can you hear just the pity party he's having? God, I'm the only person in the whole world who loves and lives for you, and now they're trying to kill me too. There's got to be a hashtag in that somewhere. Because just a few days earlier, they had this great miracle where Elijah prayed and fire came down from heaven. And it was huge. It was this huge miracle. And the whole nation saw it, and the whole nation came to God for one day. And that kind of thing will wear you out emotionally. Positive things or negative things will wear you out emotionally. So, Elijah is so drained. He's drained emotionally, he's drained spiritually, he's drained physically, and he can't even focus on reality. He can't even get the picture right in his head. Have you ever been that tired? Have you ever been that tired? Have you ever been so tired that you can't see reality? I remember our family taking a vacation one night, and I was driving at night, and I pulled over at a rest stop, and the kids were asleep. We were driving all night. Kelly said, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And I said, "I think it's time for me to pull over." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I literally saw dinosaurs walking across the road as I was driving." I did. When you start seeing dinosaurs, it's time to pull over and stop and rest. Have you ever been that tired where you don't even see reality, where you're so worn out you can't even think straight? You can't see what's really is happening, and you think the whole world is just caving in on you? They also call that the Chicken Little complex. The sky is falling. And no, you're just in a bad mood. And when you're drained and you're fatigued and you don't seem to see reality as it really is. And that's what Elijah's doing. He's saying, I'm the only one, God, that's trying to do the right thing. I am the only one. I am the only one. And he just forgot that a few days earlier the whole nation had turned back to God. And in fact, God tells him a little bit further in our chapter, he says, Elijah, along with you, there were 999 more people that did not worship the idol of Baal, kind of stayed in our corner. So you're not the only one, although you think you are. They never bowed down to an idol. He's like, Elijah, you weren't the only one. There's 6,999 other people just like you, even before this thing. And last but not least, our last symptom is we begin to relinquish our dreams. We lose our vision. I mean, when you start to burn out, you forfeit your future. You forget your goals. You basically just want to give up. And you're so emotionally, physically, spiritually drained that you just want to give up. And what happens is we begin to just stop caring. We just begin to stop caring. Notice what Elijah says. He says, he prayed that he might die. He says, I've had enough, Lord. He said, you, God, stop caring for me, and I've stopped caring. This is what happens. This is what happens. In relationships all the time. People just get tired. And if you're in a relationship where you constantly have conflict, pretty soon you'll start draining yourself out. You become dry of love and energy. I can't tell you how many times over the years in ministry, people have come to me and said in a private moment, you know what? I just don't love my husband. I just don't love my wife anymore. And what I want to say is, so what? So what? You can't fall in and you can fall in and out of love 100 times in a marriage. Bill and Pat, 60 years. And an awesome example of what a faithful marriage is, and a good witness to young people like me that only have 22 years in. But I'm not gonna assume, but I bet there were some days, Pat, you might wanted to kill Bill. Bill, there may be days you wanted to run out of the house. I don't know. Yeah. You see, that's why it takes more than love to make a marriage work. You see, love is not all you need. It takes more than love. It takes commitment. It takes character. It takes integrity. It takes maturity. It takes unselfishness to make a marriage work. And I believe if you ask Bill and Pat, they will tell you that you can't build a marriage or a deep, intimate relationship on just love. I mean, love is an important ingredient. But that's not all you need. I mean, you need character. You need maturity. You need commitment. These are the things you do have control over. Those things. You see, but you can't always have control over your feelings. You can't. But you can control your commitments. And the commitments are what take you through those times where you don't have any feelings. If I said to you, you know what? I think I'm only going to preach or lead worship on Sunday mornings when I feel like it, then I probably wouldn't be here today. But I had a commitment. I had a commitment to God and to you and to other people. So feelings kind of can come and go, but it takes more. So these are some symptoms. Just some symptoms, and you may have all of them. You're like, yeah, you just read my mind. Or you're like, I don't have any of those. But maybe you will one day. That lead us to burnout. So what do we do? If we have these symptoms, what do we do if we have burnout? And last week I listed some steps, and today we're going to look at step 1. And if you will turn to me, I'm finally getting to it. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 3 through 9, beginning with the 3rd verse. Join up on the screen or in your Bibles, and we will hear this part again. Verse 3, 1 Kings 19. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Bathsheba and Judah, and left his servants there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom brush and sat under it and prayed that he might die. Had enough, Lord, he said, take my life. I'm no better than my ancestors. And then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. All at once the angel touched him and said, get up and eat. He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate, he drank, and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. So he got up, ate and drank. Strengthened by the food, he traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. And there he went into a cave and spent the night. If we're experiencing burnout, we can learn the first step from Elijah. Is notice the first thing he did when he was safe is he rested. He rested. Elijah took time off. Elijah needed rest, and God understood that. And here's what God did. God gave Elijah everything he needed for rest. He gave him food, he gave him shade, not once but twice. You see, God didn't give Elijah a lecture. God did not punish Elijah for his feelings or the way he felt or anything. What God did is he provided for him so he could rest. You see, God understands that the ones he loves needs rest. Rest. Vince Lombardi, the legendary coach, said one time, the most spiritual thing that we can do is to go to sleep, because fatigue makes cowards of us all. When we're worn out, when we're stressed out, and the pressures that normally don't bother us begin to frustrate us and anger us, a good night's sleep sometimes can change our whole perspective. My father taught me to never make a major decision when I was tired or depressed, because he said if I did, it usually will turn out wrong. And he was right. You see, Elijah had no clue. Elijah had no clue what his future held for him. But God knew. And so God provides him food, because we can't rest, we can't rejuvenate, or we can't re-energize without food for our body. So he provided for that shade and food and comfort so that Elijah could rest. You see, our human nature is that no matter what we're going through, it's just to get it over with. You know, I remember as a child hating to go to the doctor because I always knew or always thought I was going to get a shot. I didn't like shots. So I remember one time I was like, Mom, just give me the shot now. Let's just get it over with. And we're like that sometimes, but sometimes we need to stop. We just need to stop, and we need to rest at times. We need to recharge our minds. And while it might be the most unnatural thing to do at the moment, stopping and resting and re-energizing gives us clarity for the journey ahead. If you feel you're on the road to burnout, stop. Refuel and rest. Because there is more to come. Will you pray with me?